Good morning, Cornerstone family, and welcome to today's Faith Injection. We're going to title this one Day at a Time. We can all sense and feel that there's some anxiety, just building towards reopening the economy, reopening North Carolina, reopening restaurants and ballparks and schools and gyms. And so people are starting to get a little excited, but even have a little trepidation and even want it to probably happen in some cases, maybe earlier than it should. In other cases, is later than it should. But either way, people are beginning to feel a little bit of anxiety over all that. And, they're ready to get back to some sense of normal in their lives, what their lives were normally. And these thoughts are almost always towards the positive things. And that's great. But sometimes we forget the negative things that were impacting our lives when this so-called normal was going on. So today, I just want to encourage you that even though we still have the stay-at-home orders and social distancing, let's not forget some of those negative things as we're thinking about reopening. And let's really focus on not being anxious. And really, I want to really encourage you to enjoy one day at a time. Don't get anxious to try to live two at a time. When this happens a month from now, 3 weeks from now, 5 days from now, let's try to focus on the here and now. And let's try to focus on this day. Philippians 4:6 says, "Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God." So let's not return to a time when we shared everything with everyone, but let's spend time in making sure we're making our requests known to God. Sometimes we had so much stuff going on that we really weren't aware of how limited time we were actually spending with God, how much time we were actually making our requests made known to God and not to other people. So with social distancing, social media has now become the way people share everything. And I mean everything. I've even have to, I'm not a big Facebook person, but I like to go out there and see what different people have going on. And there's times where I just have to read a couple of things and just shut it off because people are really beginning to share a lot of things that are discouraging. A lot of encouraging things out there as well. But, we'll begin to see some of these discouraging things creep in again. So let's make sure that we don't become impatient and forget to cast our cares upon Him. Things will return to some semblance of normal one day at a time. Like I said, it's not going to happen. We're not going to snap our fingers and it automatically be there, but it's going to progressively get there one day at a time. And as Pastor Jonathan has encouraged us, don't waste this season. Don't let this season go by where you really have more concentrated time, or most people have more concentrated time than ever to really spend with the Lord, unencumbered by cares and concerns and work and rushing to work and being in traffic and losing that time. But let's not waste this season. That's a very good encouragement that He's given unto us. And let's make sure that we are doing that. Now, Matthew 6:33 and 34 says, "But seek you first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." And He says, "Take therefore no thought for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the days is the evil thereof." So when we're seeking the kingdom of God, you'll find it difficult to complain, to worry, to fret, and to desire the world's normalcy. In fact, what was going on before the virus was not God's normal. God's normal is what His word says. And we've had an opportunity like never before to really spend time getting into God's word, unencumbered by work, a lot of times unencumbered by some of the other things that were just captivating our attention, because now those places and those activities aren't available. So now this time is available to us, and we need to make sure that we're spending it doing that. And so when this is over, we want to make sure that we continue to live God's normal for our lives. So James 1:3-5 says, "Knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience, but let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing." If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it shall be given to him. So all we have to do is ask. When we start getting anxiety, we should be asking God for his peace. When we start fretting over what we don't have or what we think we don't have, we should be asking God for his provision. Here's some wisdom I found in the statement from, it's called Walk the Earth, and this one is called Forward. It says, you only need to focus on one little step forward. You don't need to conquer the entire mountain right now. You don't need to have everything figured out today. The only possible way to climb a mountain is by climbing it one step at a time. Don't think about the peak. Don't worry about what may come later. Instead, focus just on the little step in front of you. The rest will come in its time. For now, it's just one little step. And that resonated deeply with me as I reflected on a conversation I had with my dad, almost 16 years ago. Towards the end of his earthly life, I had the opportunity to spend quite a bit of time with him. And I remember asking him, how'd you do it? Now, how did you raise 11 children? And his response to me was, I simply did whatever it took for that day. I simply did whatever it took for that day. It sounds simple, but essentially that's what we all do. One day at a time. You can't live two at a time. You can't live a week at a time. You can't live a month at a time. Some people may have more money, more resources, a bigger house, a more expensive car. But the great equalizer is that we're all given one day at a time. And what you choose to do with that day makes all the difference in your life. So as the old spiritual said, one day at a time, sweet Jesus. That's all I'm asking of you. Give me the strength to do every day what I have to do. So until next time, live this day as if it's the only one you have. And remember, we are blessed to be a blessing. Have a great day.